Located on the coast of Lagos, Badagry stands as a touching reminder of human's darkest chapter, the transatlantic slave trade. Here, the whisper of history echoes through time, telling stories of pain, resilience, and unyielding quest for freedom. The transatlantic slave trade began in the late 15th century in Nigeria. By 1471, Portuguese navigators hoping to tap the fabled Saharan gold trade had explored the West African coast as far as the Niger Delta and traded European commodities for local craft as well as slaves. In no time, slave trade turned out to be highly lucrative. History has always been a thing of interest for me. This in particular I am not willing to let slide. So I made a trip to learn and experience exactly what the slaves went through. I met a couple of good people who are willing to show me around.
So, you're welcome to Brazilian Barracoon. My name is Cornerstone. What's the name? You're welcome, Mr. Ruben.
The Brazilian Barracoon, a building that has been standing for about 180 years. This building holds remnants of commodities which were used in exchange for slaves back in the days.
The reason why they call the compound Brazilian Barracoon, all slaves taken from this compound were taken to Brazil.
Okay.
And they were Yoruba origin. That's the main reason today we get to Brazil, you still see the culture and tradition of the Yorubas over there. Like there's a gods among the Yorubas they call Yemeja. Over there they call it Lemeja. Eshu, they call it Ezu. Yalakara, Akaraje, Oshun, Ozun. They use X instead of she or C that we use here, Ozun. That shows that they are Yorubas that have been moved from this compound to Brazil. And Barracoon is a Portuguese word. Now, Barracoon means cell, dungeon, where they are being kept. We have 40 barracoons. 40 in this compound, but we'll be privileged to see to being preserved by the family of a family. But before we go in, let's turn around. Now, when the Europeans came to Africa, we Africans, we have our own currency. And what is the currency? Money that our forefathers used for buying and selling. In the olden days, our forefathers used tobacco as money. They used yala salt. In the yala, they spent salt as money. Then there's what they call Manila. Manila used to call in a covering, like what I'm putting on. So it looked like this. If you look at our 100 rand, the one that carry our logo, you notice there's a green star. There's a covering in the two here at the back, another one there, we call it Manila. Then the fourth one is called cowrie shell. Let me show you the cowrie shell. These are the cowrie shell that they use. They used to give it out in a sack, maybe give me 2 sacks of cowrie, 20 sacks of cowrie, but we don't know how many numbers.
What's the value of cowrie then?
We don't know. So they use cowrie as money. Now, then I said, they will have prepared doing a trade, known as trade by barter, with our forefather, exchange goods for goods. So imagine European giving our father a ceramic bowl, they collect 10 human beings as a slave. One umbrella go for 40 human beings as a slave. We see how the surviving umbrella. We have a bottle of 1873 from Vienna, Austria. The European will give our father a bottle of whiskey, they collect 10 human beings as a slave. There's what they call bargain power. You can say 2 slaves, I can say 3 slaves. It depends how you could bargain and negotiate with European for base and mirror. Now, this one are called cannon gun. Cannon gun we are used to fought war, then it's a holding the bomb. The longer one go for 100 slaves, the smaller one 40 slaves, and a den gun go for 40 human beings as a slave. Now the question is this, we Africans, what do we do with the guns and the guns? And the guns and the cannon guns? Yeah, we use all these guns and this to fight each other. So to get more slaves to settle the Europeans. But there are always 2 sides of coins. The Europeans have their own blade, African chiefs that were doing this, selling their own people to have their own place. Because anywhere they go to, if they realize this community is not well organized, they will invade it, they put the people where accessible. Any community they go to, because we have our own king warrior, they have to go through our British chiefs. Let me use our British chiefs, and they will use all these items to enter them in exchange for their own people.
I know we are quick to blame Europeans coming into our country to extract humans as slaves. The sad reality is that the role of the so-called leaders, the chief, kings, and warriors should be emphasized. Point blank, Africans sold Africans.
Okay, come here. Now, this is the surviving umbrella for 40 enslaved Africans. The umbrella was made of wood, bronze, silk, cane, and iron, and it's heavy. I think the umbrella should be like 17 to 20 kg. Carry, lift it if you want her. You can see. Now, as heavy as this umbrella is, look at these pictures here. A slave boy have to carry it firm on the head of the master. If the umbrella drop from the hand of the slave, they'll be headed it because slaves were property. And this one is called covering yoke. Now, they put this at the ankle of the first slave, then the ankle of the second slave. So this straight rod will pass from here to the other side. So look at this small hole there. This is where they'll put their padlock to join two of us together. And this thing was made of metal. There's no how it will put wounds around their ankles. Okay, because they were slaves, the next day they'll see me wearing this on their, we call it covering yoke or ankle shackle that they used to join the slave together. This guy in the middle here is a stubborn slave. Any slave that is stubborn, they have to tie this chain. We call it waist chain. Just feel the weight of the chain. If you look at the chain, can you see that it's wearing out gradually? That shows that the chain is more heavier than what you are seeing today. So they will tie it around the waist of a stubborn slave. So after some time, it will calm the slave down so that it will be less aggressive fighting another slave or those who are not purchasing. Yoruba call this box Apoti Ishano. We didn't know how many slaves that were used to collect this. Now, look at this item number 7. They put this one inside the fire to write the name of the owner of the slave on the checks. We call it brandy because slave kept in this compound were owned by different owners. Now, this chain here and the one at your back were used to kill the slave. Later, when we enter the second room, I'll be telling you how they do the lynching of the slave with these two. Where you guys are standing is called inspection room. Any slave above 50 are called old slave. Yeah. They don't want those soldiers. Or any sick slave are called macrons. They want a very young sharp because their aims and objectives they were going to work where they take. So they want a very healthy slave. This is what they examine them. Now we are going to see the dark room where 40 enslaved Africans were being kept for 3 to 4 months. So please, if you are tall, you have to bend your head while coming in. Wash your head. So wash your head, yeah. This is the dark room. Look at that small window object, and that will give the ventilation, and 40 of them will be here for 3 to 4 months. This is where they'll defecate, pee, do a lot of things. Imagine the odor they
So they'll keep 40 people in this room.
Imagine how many of them will have died here. That's why when people come here, I tell them you are not here to catch food, but just to feel the pain. The people that pass are fair.
From me, one of the most heartbreaking things from this dark period in history is the separation of children from their parents. Enslaved family already suffering under brutal conditions of capture face the additional horror of being torn apart, often permanently.
This slave elite, you'll have seen a lot of people thought the slave chain is as lighter as what they put on dog. No, you can see how heavy that chain is.
I tried it.
So imagine putting that kind of chain on human's neck before being dragged to the point of no return. We call it neck collar chain, and this is one of the companies that produce the chains that were used on them. Henry Pauline and Son at Birmingham that produce the chains that were used. There's another company at 111/115 Baltimore Road, okay, in Birmingham. It's called Hyatt and Co. that produce the chains that were also used on the plate. Now look at this man. Why must this man kill himself? Because this man knows the implication to be a slave. He said, I would rather die than being a shoot knife and stab himself to death. Now, most of the Igbo slaves taken along Calabar Bongo for the children to Georgia. One day, 75 of the Igbo slaves said they cannot be a slave. What they did, they killed their masters, and 75 of them, one accord, they said they were repatriating. They go into the ocean, they drown themselves. They call the place Igbo landing up today in Georgia, where you see the culture of the Igbo people over there. Now, if they escape, there are some dogs, we call them killers dogs. They will leave after them. We call them the fugitives, that's the runaway slave, and the door will lead them to the boat. And any slave that refused to accept his master's name will be struck to death. Will be struck to death. And if any slave die, no case, because they are someone's property. Now, this is another sad event. If they want to kill the slave, if you guys remember, where in the first room, I show you a chain over the wall in the show glass. They will tie it around the wrists of the men, the women two hand up, and they'll be hung on gallows. And they normally mount the gallows in the plantation where the slave used to work, or the cabin where they live. Now, any slave that tries to be smarter than your master, they will tie the chain around the wrists of the men, their hand at the back, they hung on gallows, the women two hand up, and they'll be dying gradually. What are they trying to achieve? They are trying to instill in fear into other slaves. Food, sometimes food is only once in a day. For that reason, they don't want communication. The reason why they don't want them to communicate, they believe that if these black people, they allow them to communicate, they might plan among themselves and revolt against them. So they have to lock their mouth with this thing called iron muzzle. Now, what they use, since communication is not allowed, in the cabin or the quarters where they live, in the cool of the evening, you see the slaves gather themselves, they started singing. We call it either Juba party or Hambo. They started dancing. They'll be communicating through dance, and their master see them as how many these people get information. They don't understand that they have some meaning. So we call it Hambo. They used to communicate. The well was dug in the 1847. Slavery are the one that dug this well in the 1847. And if you look at the water is not clean enough for consumption. But since they were slaves, they have no choice. This is where they consume water from.
Soon after purchasing enough slaves, the slaves were being prepared for transportation to various destinations. As you may have guessed, this is probably the most difficult part. Also, more than half of the slaves tends to lose their life going through inhuman conditions such as the Middle Passage. Once loaded into the ship, the enslaved faced the difficult Middle Passage across the Atlantic Ocean. The ships were packed with as many people as possible, with individuals chained together and confined to spaces so tight that they could barely move. The journey could take several weeks or even months, during which the conditions were horrific, leading to high mortality rate.
This is the original entrance from the Barracoon down to the slave port. So after this lagoon here, the place they have to be taking them to is a place we call the point of no return. A place where slaves will be taken to places like America, Brazil, Cuba, Portugal, West Indies, and some other countries in the world. Now, when a slave has been captured and been sold at the slave market, they have to bring it to the Barracoon to keep them for a while until the ship arrives at the point of no return. So as they're marching them out from the Barracoon, so they march them through the slave port. So march through here, then they get to the slave port. Then through the slave port, they go through the lagoon and get to the island, which is Berefo Island, where they have to work on the original slave route. So along the route, they will see the spirit attenuation well, the water they have to give to them that means them to lose their memory. Then they keep walking on a single file until they get to where the ship will be waiting for the arrival of the slaves.
My final destination led me to Berefo Island, which was the final destination for the enslaved. Slaves who made it to this point have two realities awaiting them: death or eternal slavery. On the island was an underground tunnel which served as a passage for the unboarding of slaves.
You are welcome to Berefo Island, where we have the original slave route, so the place we call Point of No Return. Why is it the journey to another destination? Because they don't know where they are going to. Now, when the slave arrive here, they will march them on the original slave route, down to the point. But before they get to the point of no, they have to stop at the middle of the road, where we have the well called spirit attenuation well. That is where the slave have to drink water. They will fetch out the water, and for you to know how strong that water is, until these people get to their final destination before they will come back to their senses, but not the old memory. They will have a new memory. Getting here, they will give you any water to drink. After drinking, they will continue their journey. And as they are moving, they'll be losing their memory gradually, until they get to that area where we have the slave tunnel. So when we go over there, you're supposed to see a structure called door of, actually called door of tunnel, or slave.
The Lagos State government began the construction of a spiral structure designed to keep the memories of the forefathers who had gone through the point of no return. now named the Point of Return, a significant step towards preserving and honoring the history of transatlantic slave trade. These efforts represent a commitment to not only recognizing the painful past, but also educating future generations about the atrocities that took place and their lasting impact on African society. These will as well serve as a monument to attract tourists across the globe. Although construction did begin, unfortunately, halfway into it, there was no continuity. Not only as it comes to ruin, I regard this as lack of concern for what has happened. It's over a century since slave trade was abolished, but the big question I would love you to answer in the comment section if you watch to this part is, are we free from the slave masters? This visit was not just a journey through history, but a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of extreme adversity. It reinforced the importance of remembering and honoring the lives lost and the enduring impact of this tragic period on our collective history. The story of those who passed through those ports must continue to be told, ensuring that lessons of the past inform our present and future. I would appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to the channel to allow me create more videos like this.